Right, let's take a look at part 3, chapter 7. This one had a lot in it for me. Made me think of lots of different things. So, yeah, let's get into it. A week's gone by. Ilya's feeling anxious. Anxious, ambidextrous. So, he's asking about the bridges. Remember, the bridges got taken down over the Neva. So, he can't get to see Olga, and he's a wee bit, what does it say? He's reassured and tranquil. Those are the words it uses. He feels safe, and this makes me think of my own situation, which I always think of in terms of a Roger Waters song from the Radio Chaos, his Radio Chaos album. Well, there's a scene where you're overhearing a radio broadcast. It's like a call-in show, and the guy says, "I'd like to be home with my monkey and my dog."
I'd like to be home with my monkey and
Thank you.
And for me, that means staying at home in a place of safety and not going out to do difficult things, you know? But there's no growth there. There's no personal satisfaction, even though it's safe and comfortable. You all know this, right? Comfort zone is a thing. And it reminds me of a song that I wrote for a friend of mine who died very young in 2016, I think it was. And I wrote a song. It's the only time I've ever written a song with lyrics, and the lyrics go like this: we should live a little harder, love a little more, fear a little less to step out the front door. So, live a little harder, step out the front door. This is what's going on here. And we've got the words to describe it. He inquires anxiously about the bridges and is reassured and tranquil when they're not replaced. So he's in that kind of safe zone. Then we get a mention of elbows. That seems to be a thing now that we're doing. Then we get Zachar coming in and saying they've put the bridges back, as if it's a good thing, which, you know, it is. And then the next day is Sunday, which was typically Ilya's day to go and visit Olga, and he's like, his tranquility's been destroyed by this announcement. And then he starts to think about all the things that keep him where he is, and imagining. He's projecting. This is a thing that I know all about myself. Projecting into the future, fear, false evidence appearing real. And he's thinking of what will happen when the engagement's announced. He's worrying about his money situation. He's worrying about having to buy a present for Olga, which is the tradition. He's only got 300 rubles to his name, so it's all just churning. It says, but the moment he began to melt with love, so this is when he starts to let his feelings of love overcome these feelings of anxiety. But when that happens, but the moment he began to melt with love, his problems would weigh down on him and crush him like a stone. So he can't break free. So he puts off going, and then we switch POVs. We're back with Olga, and we learn for the first time that she has an inheritance. Baron von Langwagen is talking with her and mentions this inheritance that she's going to get next week with accommodation. She's got an estate with a place to stay, and she's got land and income, and yeah, surprise. And then she decides not to tell Ilya. It says, but she resolved to say nothing to Oblomov about this news or her plans for the future. She wanted to bide her time until, at long last, the force of love would triumph over his natural indolence and the weight of inertia finally slide from his shoulders. It sounds like she doesn't know him very well, right? And it's that, I mean, you could sense this when you learn about the inheritance. You can tell straight away, she's not going to tell him. She's going to keep him, and this is a good plot device to build the tension in the novel. And yeah, it's like failure to communicate on both sides. So Ilya doesn't want to tell her about his money problems. She doesn't want to tell him that she has a solution to his money problems that she doesn't know about. It's like, then we get her thought processes behind not telling Ilya. She wants to surprise him in the future, but she wants to make his life hard to begin with, in a kind of playful way, to, I don't know, make the impact of the news hit harder. It says, let him make the journey. It's talking to Oblomov. Let him make an effort, display some energy for my sake, for the sake of our future happiness. So, yeah. And then I've got a bit here on page 397, which I've not written out, so let's have a look. It's smacked of neurodiversity to me. This is when they get together. Yeah, we haven't got to that yet. She comes round the next day, because he's supposed to go on the Sunday. He doesn't go. We've established why. She waits for him. She makes his favourite food and dresses up nice and gets ready for him to come, and he doesn't come. So the next day she's like, So she goes round to see him, which is not really the done thing, but she does it. And we get this. They're having a conversation. She says, I'm no longer a child, you know, and it's not so easy to fob me off with nonsense. Then what's it all really about? And he says, look, Olga, the way I see it, all this time I've been scaring myself by imagining the effect on you of all these terrible things. I've been worried sick. 1 minute I'm full of hope, and the next minute those hopes are dashed and my heart can't take it. My whole system is affected and just seizes up, stops functioning, and just needs a breathing space to recover. So anxiety, overwhelm. And then she says, then how come my system doesn't seize up and continues functioning, and the only respite I need is to be near you? Made me think. One's neurodiverse, one's not. And understanding neurodiversity from a place of health. Doesn't always work, you know what I mean? In my experience, trying to understand, I don't need to go into personal details, but let's just say I've got experience with this. She doesn't understand why he's feeling anxious, and he doesn't understand why she can't understand. Like, come on, Olga, can you not see? No, I can't see. Communication, but even then, you know. So that stood out to me as being an interesting point. He then declares his love for her in very strong terms, a little too strong, I might say. It feels codependent in an unhealthy way. He says he'd die for her, you know, and she says, there's no need for that. No one's asking you to die. What use would that be to me? Just do what is necessary. It's a clever tactic some people use to offer to make sacrifices that are impossible or quite unnecessary as a way of avoiding making a sacrifice that is necessary. So, yeah, she's not understanding. He says, I only breathe, see, think and feel through you. It's you who are the fuel, the motor of that machine. When you're looking at me, talking and singing, I feel that I'm alive. So he's dependent on her. They discuss purpose, and she says, did you not say that I was your purpose in life? And he's like, absolutely, yep. And we've got this situation where when she's near him and he's got the burning passion and declaring that he'd die for her, he's got all this motivation in life and he feels like he can do anything. And we get a scene where that happens, when it explains that he can, just that feeling of, this is something I get when I'm doing exercise, let's say up in the hills here above where I live. Forestry, beautiful, beautiful place. It's a steep hill, so when you get there you're out of breath. It's a good workout, and then you get flat forestry roads to walk for miles, and it's idyllic. And when I'm up there, I found myself doing this, saying to myself, remember CAMS, Remember this feeling right now. So when you're sitting at home and you can't be arsed, going up the hill, think back on this feeling and get yourself up there. And it doesn't work. I'll be still sitting at home and thinking, oh, I'm so busy. I've not got time to go up the hill. Can't be arsed, you know. So knowing that that place up there is the best place in the world isn't enough for the inertia. That's the word. Inertia to get you out the door. And it's just difficult. And it does talk of that word in this chapter, inertia. And then he says, oh, if only the fire raging inside me today would burn as fiercely tomorrow and every day after that. Because when you're not here, the fire goes out, the life drains from me. And that's what I'm talking about. When I'm up in the hills, I think, God, it's the easiest thing in the world. Why do I not do this every day? Or if I go swimming, I do like to swim, and I'll come home from swimming at a good distance and I feel great. It's like, this is amazing. And I sit down to do my work and it goes easily and well and it's fun. And then the next day I'm like, will I go swimming today? Oh, I'm a bit busy. I know you understand, we all do this. It's not unique to me and Ilya, and it's not just a neurodiverse thing. It's a human thing. But that's what he's got going on. And then we get that scene where he describes all of the things that he can do right now because he's feeling that sense of elation. And yeah, what does he say? It lists a bunch of things. His whole being was suffused with a feeling of warmth and renewed vigour and vitality. He felt that same old impulse to rush off in any direction, to travel any distance, to do 1,000 things all at once. To go to see Stoltz with Olga, to the estate, to the country, the fields, the woods, to closet himself in his study and immerse himself in work, to travel in person to the Rybinsk River port, to build the road, to read that book that he had just come out and everyone was talking about, to go to the opera this very evening. Yes, in a single day she would have visited him, he would have been to see her, and then they would go to the opera. What a full day it would be. How easy it was to breathe within the life, the atmosphere that Olga created around herself, to bask in the rays of her girlish radiance, her high spirits and energy, and her youthful yet subtle and profound intelligence. He moved around the room as if he were flying, as if unseen hands were carrying him. Imagine feeling that all the time. So we'll see where it goes after that.